Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amelia and today we have a very exciting video. Now, of course you know what it is, you've seen the title, but we're going to be setting up my reading journal for 2024. I'm in yet another of the Ferris Wheel Press Featherlight, I think they're called, journals in the square size. It's the same as the one I used last year, except for we're changing up the color a little bit. All right, so without further ado, let's jump into setting up this reading journal for 2024. All right, friends, welcome into my 2024 reading journal. So this setup is quite a bit of a long one. So maybe grab yourself a drink or your own reading journal to set up along with me. I did my best to, edit it down by speeding up the footage more than usual. And I also had to cut out a few clips, so you'll see a jump forward in time a little bit now and then. Honestly, I had no choice. When I just sped it up by the amount I usually do, it was like 31 minutes long. And personally, I just think that is too long for like a reading journal setup video. So I've done what I can to get it down to closer to like 18.5 minutes of setup. So hopefully that's not too long. And let's go ahead and talk about what I'm actually doing. So for my theme for this year's setup, I was inspired by actually the like wrapper thing, like piece of paper that came on my journal. And I will show it to you at the end in my flip through section so you'll see what I'm talking about. But it doesn't have the dragons and stuff in it, but it did feature these kind of clouds and hot air balloons, and then I added in my own kind of banner design and the dragons because my idea was to go for kind of like a dreamscape fantasy kind of theme. And I was originally planning to include more like things in the clouds other than dragons and hot air balloons, like maybe like books and that kind of thing, but I sketched out the first page and I realized that I had only included dragons and hot air balloons and also tiny little just like regular balloons, and I liked it. And I didn't think that I wanted to go crazy with adding a ton more different elements. So it's not quite the fantasy sort of dreamscape that I originally had in mind, but it is more just like a fantasy sky, because we got dragons, that's really the only fantastical part, but yeah, so right now I'm setting up the title page, and I'm also including a quote page. I'm just using a quote from Lord of the Rings, "A light from the shadows shall spring," and just, on a fancy little kind of banner design. And then I used this really, not like cross-hatching, I don't know what you would call it, just kind of like, it's just regular hatching, I guess, not with the crosses. But that was kind of how they had their clouds decorated on that initial inspiration piece that I saw. So I used that. It does mean that the setup took a really long time because of all the teeny tiny little lines that I had to draw. And I tell you, I was getting pretty sick of drawing little teeny lines by the end of this setup. But I am very happy with the way that they look overall. It is just a extremely time-consuming process. So if you're thinking of using this theme in your own journal, just be warned. I had like 6 or 7 hours of footage for the line work. And of course, it took me many hours to just sketch all of this stuff in and figure out the layout and all that kind of stuff. So this was a extremely time-consuming video to make and setup to make, but as I said, I am very happy with the way it turned out. It's kind of, I wanted to stick with just like a plain black and white theme, partially because of the inspiration piece that I was looking at, and also last year my reading journal setup for the new year was just black and white. Well, you know what I mean, the paper's white, my markers are black. And so I thought it'd be kind of fun to stick with that and like keep it carrying forward, so that I could have like, I don't know, I just like it when the front pages aren't too crazy, so that I don't I feel like it's easier to mess up with color, like there's more times when I've been working with color that I've chosen the wrong color and not ended up being happy with the way it turned out. But with black, you can't choose the wrong color. So it's a little bit of a safety net, I guess, to skip on the color. And maybe that's lazy or not very artistic of me, but you know, I just like the way it looks without color. Now I'm sure at this point you can see what I meant about it being extremely time consuming, because we are like 5 minutes into this setup and I'm still working on the first spread. Now it will take less time to do some of the other ones, just because this one includes a lot of drawing, while the others have space for, you know, me to fill them out with information and that kind of thing, so they won't be quite so time consuming as this one. But yeah, we are just finishing, well, I don't know if finishing is the right word, but we're getting close to the end of the title page setup. I am mostly using stamps for the font in this journal, but I wanted 2024 to be bigger, so I just did that by hand. And then we are stamping in reading journal, and now I believe we are just about finished. Oh, of course there's a little bit more detail, and now we are flipping over onto the next page, which is going to be my 24 books in 2024. Okay, we got there. Which is kind of just like a mini section of my TBR, like the 24 books that I am most excited to read in the new year, or like most certain that I genuinely like really want to get to. And I'm not actually going to fill out the 24 books in this video. I'm just going to set up the page, all the decorations and that kind of thing. And then we're going to talk about my 2024 TBR in its own video. I will print out little book covers, we'll fill this page in, and we'll talk about the books that I want to read and why. So keep your eyes peeled on the channel for that coming soon. And we are using the same decorative elements as we used on the cover page, and we will use these, of course, throughout. We've got clouds, we've got dragon, hot air balloon, all the really fun things. But yeah, what are you guys planning to read in the new year? Like, I feel like I always have so many books like on my mind that I want to read, and then when I set out to like actually write a TBR, or like make a list of books I want to read, all the books that like I had in my head just kind of like disappear, and then like, what do I even want to read? But then most of the time I feel like I don't have enough time to read all the books I want to read. It's funny how that works. It's like you have all this stuff in your mind, and then as soon as you need that information, it just disappears. It's like, wow, thanks brain, that is so helpful of you. But yeah, we are just about to finish up the 24 book spread, just adding the last few details. And how I did these lines was, okay, I don't really feel like I super need to go into depth with how I did the lines, but there was like a little bit of nuance to it, so I tried to sort of transition from longer to shorter lines and then back, and use a little bit of detachment in the lines, so some of them have like kind of like dots or like smaller lines at the end, just to add a little bit more visual interest and give it that kind of sketchbook kind of feel. But we are on to the next page now, and this one is just going to be my general TBR list. So these aren't books that like I'm like specifically like, oh, I really got to read these this year or like right now, but it's just like as I like watch booktube videos or go to the bookstore or the library or wherever, just having a place to write down books that sound interesting that I might want to get to at some point, whether or not it is this year or not. I don't put like a date at the top of this TBR page. I just write TBR, so you know, it could be any time. But yeah, just a simple list with kind of the little stars as dots. And then the opposite page in this spread is going to be for my book bingo. Now, I have not yet made a bingo or got a bingo this year. I still have time. It is December the 12th that I'm recording this. So hopefully I will be able to get a bingo. All I need to do is read. It's a reread, I think, that I'm missing. And the plan was to read The Hobbit. So all I have to do is read that. And I don't think that book will take me very long to read, just because I've read it before. You know, it's a children's book technically. So that will be a quick read. I haven't felt super inspired to read it, but I would like to this year, hopefully, if I can. And next year I want to finish my Lord of the Rings reread that I started this year and then just kind of got distracted from. But for this year's book bingo, I drew a dragon in the center, and then I was going to write all of the bingo prompts like on top of the dragon and the other squares, but I had written in numbers that were based on the prompts that I had written down elsewhere, and I thought that that looked better than writing in all of the words would look. So I just put the numbers, and then I'm going to put all the prompts on a like tip-in that I'm going to glue into the front, so that I can reference that. I just think it looks less busy that way. But we are on to the next spread. It has left me behind. And this spread is going to be my series tracker. And actually this spread, I think, other than maybe like the front page, you know what, even more than the first page, I think this is my favorite spread overall. I just think that the layout worked really well. I like the placement of all my decorations, and I'm just really happy with it. So I went with a big banner across the whole top of both pages, and originally I was going to put series tracker like across, like series on one page, tracker on the next, but because I was using the stamps, I thought that would look a little bit silly because the word would be so small in the banner. So I do end up putting series tracker on both of the pages, and I think that turned out the way I liked it. And then we have space for tracking 7 series. We got 3 bigger ones and then a couple of trilogy and quartet series. And the first one that I've got there is of course Wheel of Time. I have space for all of the books and the prequel in there. And then we have Malazan Book of the Fallen, which I have technically read the first book of, but I think I'll probably reread it next year, just to prepare myself for the whole series. And then we have a Stormlight Archive. So the 5th book of that one, I think it's a series, I hope I didn't mess this up, but the 5th book of that I believe is supposed to be coming out this year. So there'll be 5 books total, and 2, I don't know if they're novellas or what exactly they are. They're just not main storyline books, so I made smaller star diamond shapes to fill those in. Just I don't know if I'll be super invested in reading those, but we'll see how much I like the main series. I may be craving more, you never know. I don't know yet. Only Brandon Sanderson I've read so far is the first 3 Secret Projects. I'm hoping to do the 4th one early next year because I've made a video, like a reading vlog for each of the first 3 so far, and I know I'm kind of late on the 4th one, but I would like to do it just, for the completionist's sake, to have all 4 up on the channel. But now we're just doing the decoration. This of course takes a while, all of those lines, and I ended up doing them on all of these little banners too. I wasn't sure if I was going to, but I'm glad I did because it definitely makes them fit in with the rest of the page and makes it feel a lot more complete than when they were naked, I guess. But I haven't quite decided how I'm going to fill in the triangles. No, that's not the right shape at all. I'll call them diamonds. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that because last year I was filling the series tracker in with a color, but I don't really want to add a color. Like, it might look good, but then it will also kind of ruin the rest of the black and white theme. So I'm not sure yet. I think I'm going to have to make like a little test page, draw out a bunch of them and see what the best way to fill them in is. I might just go for like a cross across the middle, like an X, not like a cross. But yeah, that's something I'm going to have to work on and figure out, but I have time. And then over the page, we are starting another spread, and this one is going to be my books read spread. And I'm actually going to have 3 spreads for my books read, but I'm only going to show 1 in this video. You'll see the other 2 in the flip through, but I did not record the 2nd and 3rd pages for this just because I felt that it would be very repetitive and that the video was going to be quite long enough, so I did not record those. But you will see the first one. So of course I'm using the usual themes. Well, themes? Icons? No. You know what I mean. But I've got a banner across the top, and then I'm continuing out on the other side and making spaces for all of the little book covers, because yes, I'm going to do the book cover strategy technique. Again, this year, I really liked the way it looked last year, although I still need to print a whole bunch of covers for last year and glue them in. And I did actually run out of room in my books read spreads for last year. So this year I'm making space for 85 books. I seriously doubt that I'll read 85 books. I'm getting close to 70 for this year, and I imagine it will be pretty close for next year. I think my goal is going to be like 75, but I'm not really. I think, yeah, actually one of my book bingo squares is 75 books. So yeah, that is my book reading goal for next year is 75. And I'm pretty close to that this year. So I think as long as I continue in a similar vein, that should be easy enough. Here's the thing, like for like the channel and stuff like that, like it's obviously I'm gonna have to read more books than I may otherwise because, you know, I need to be able to talk about the books and I can't talk about them if I haven't read them. But I'm not out here trying to like read hundreds of books in a year because I just feel like I like to read a lot of longer, slower books, and I don't want to read books that are shorter just to meet a goal. I just feel like that's kind of defeats the purpose of reading if I'm not doing it for actual enjoyment, but for a number's sake. But I do like to hit myself a good arbitrary number goal. So I am setting a reading goal, and we will see how I do on that, but I won't be like devastated if I don't hit it or anything. As long as I read good books, I will be happy. All right, we are on the next page, and this one I don't have too much to do on it because it's going to be my year in review spread. So of course it's going to be mostly empty. I'm just doing like a title and a little bit of decoration, and then when the end of the year comes, I will be filling it in. I haven't filled in my one for this year yet. Well, I mean, obviously the year's not quite over, but I will probably fill that out and share it with you guys. I don't think that it's probably, I only have one page, like not a full spread in my current reading journal for my year in review. So I probably won't make a full video of it, but I may include filling it out and finishing off the beginning of year spreads in my full year bullet journal, no, reading journal flip through video that will hopefully be coming in late December or early January, probably early January. Just, you know, I like for it to be 100% complete before I show it to you and say it's complete. All right, and now we are on the final spread that we're going to be setting up in this video. This is my book bracket spread. Again, I have one of these in my current reading journal, so I will be filling that out with you shortly. I like to get a little bit further through December because, of course, the idea of this spread is to find your favorite book of the year by comparing your favorite book from each month in like a round robin style tournament. I got the idea for this spread from Plant-Based Ride here on YouTube, so go ahead and check out her videos. She's got a couple years worth of herself doing that, like the filling it in, I think, on her channel, so feel free to check that out once you're finished watching this video. But yeah, I'm going to be using, again, the little book cutouts for this. I just like the way that the covers look, and it will actually break up the black and white with those, so maybe I should use colors for my series tracker, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm gonna have to figure that out at a later date. But yeah, across the top we have spaces for my top book from each month, and then you compare two of those at a time to get your top 6 books, and then you compare those to each other to get top 3, and then those 3 together to get your number 1 book of the year. Now obviously it's not like a perfect system because you might compare January and February and get a book, but then you might, both of the books you read in like March and April, you might think are better than that book from the January-February pairing. So it's not like perfect, of course, but you know, it's a bit of fun. And yeah, that's all it is really, a bit of fun and an interesting way to try to sort of choose your favorite book of the year, whether or not it actually truthfully is. All right, let us get into the final flip through. This is the piece of paper with the design that inspired this theme. And then opening up my reading journal, I just stamped in my name and the year on the nameplate page. And then of course, my title page, which I'm really happy with the way it turned out. My 2024 books in 2024, no, 24 books in 2024, I keep messing that up. Of course, my TBR page, my book bingo, then we got my series tracker page, which I am super happy with, as I was saying, and then the books read. And now I will show you the other 2 pages of books read pages. So just mixing up the layout a little bit for each page. And I have one blank page here in case I need more space. I ran out of space this year and it's annoying, so saving space for next year. And then my year in review, and then finally my book bracket. And that is everything in my 2024 reading journal setup. Welcome back, friends. I hope you have enjoyed my 2024 reading journal setup. I am actually quite pleased with the way it came out myself, so let me know in the comments what you thought of my theme and what theme you're going to be using for your 2024 reading journal. I'm really excited to actually be able to start using this and filling in some of my spreads. Of course, I still need to set up for it in January, but that will be coming in the next few weeks. So if you like this video and you're not subscribed to the channel, consider subscribing for more reading journal content, as well as general book content. We kind of do a little bit of everything. Well, not everything, but you know, a variety of bookish content on this channel. And I have lots of fun stuff planned for the new year. So that is all that I have time for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.